Okay, we are live for day 4 of the AI training for small business owners. And if you're here, let me know by sharing in the chat. Just say good morning. There's a lot to cover today. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an overview on Claude and test some things out. One of the things that I want to do for today's training, though, is I want to see what you would want, what use cases you would want me to show. So if you have an idea of what you want to see, then just share that in the chat because I want to make this as useful and relevant to you as possible. And we'll start in about 1 to 2 minutes. Good morning. So there's also been even more updates in the Codex app. I hear you, but your picture is static. Am I freezing? Is my picture static? Okay. So there's even, I use Claude to make a book system, but then it ran out of memory. Yeah. So we'll address all of those things. So what I'm going to do today is just do an overview of Claude, about where I see the strengths of Claude, because it definitely has strengths. And there are certain weaknesses that I see. But I do use both Codex and Claude. If someone was like, you have to only choose one, I would choose Codex. And that's just because I think it's more reliable in the end and the output is more consistent, even though it may be a little bit slower and it may be less quick to act and likes to stay a little bit in the strategy planning mode and the foundations, but it is overall, in my opinion, just based on my use, more reliable, more consistent based on the output. And I think for what you pay, even on the same subscription, you get a lot more. Your use, never runs out. So I could be on the same subscription for both, building very similar things for both. And almost every single time I will run out of my session, usage and like hit the limit for that session on Claude. And I have yet to hit a limit on a session on the Codex side. So if I just had to choose one, I would definitely choose Codex. And going back to what we covered on day 1, which is Codex, there have been some major updates just in the last 24 hours. And I want to mention these things because as we go through Claude very shortly, you will see that they, again, it's very comparable. They're head to head. And, when one adds one thing, the other adds another thing. And it really just comes down to maybe testing using both tools for a certain amount of time, maybe over a month, and you'll easily find which one you have a lot more preference for. I will say that when it comes to working also with a local agent like OpenClaw, Codex, obviously their history has been proven to be a lot more friendly towards those things, and Claude is not. Okay. Claude wants you, if you're going to use anything like that, to use only your API key, and it could be a lot more expensive that way. So just kind of have those things into consideration. All right, so let me show you first the updates that they did. And if it's a bit freezing. Am I freezing? Hold on. All right, let's see. Let me see, hold on. Hopefully it'll stop. Am I back? Okay, let's try it out. So I'm going to share my screen here. So first, let's go through the most recent Codex updates. And this was done yesterday. So it says Codex for almost everything. It can now use apps on your Mac, connect to more of your tools, create images, learn from previous actions, remember how you like to work, and take on ongoing and repeatable tasks. So this is this is huge actually, because one of the things with working a lot of the times within these desktop apps has been that, its context ability has been like, you start a new thread, it could be starting kind of from scratch, like your 51st dates every time. But now it will actually be able to learn how you like to work like a real agent. And I think that Codex's ability to also work with a local agent like OpenClaw, and they're both learning together. And the more that Codex learns and improves, it could also guide local agents. I think it's going to be extremely powerful. Another thing is that what they did is previously in Codex, and this has always been the case for Claude, and I'll show you. But previously in Codex, when you would go to build like a landing page or something, it's going to give you a link that's a local, document or source on your computer. You would click it, and then it would open in the browser. It wouldn't naturally have this like browser preview. Claude has had that for quite a bit of time. All right. And then I guess what they also have is, which I think is really good, is the ability now to click on something and then be able to like prompt the change just for that specific thing. So it's called commenting. You'll be able to generate images, which isn't that big of a thing because ChatGPT does generate some pretty good images. I'd say that they're second, outside of something more specific like Midjourney. But just in these types of tools, I would say that ChatGPT is second to Gemini. Really, really good images. You could connect to more things like SharePoint and other apps. You could automate stuff. And then what I think is really cool is they did computer use. So up until this point, a lot of the apps, even Claude has tried to do this, where it could view your computer and you'll see like it'll glow orange with Claude, and it could be able to click on things and stuff like that. Until that point, it has been really clunky. And even with Claude, sometimes like it'll interfere with what you're doing on your computer. So if you're trying to use it on the same computer that you're working on, it could interrupt what you're doing because it's doing its own thing. And it could just pop up stuff while you're doing other stuff or take control of your mouse while you need it. And so what Codex has done that a lot of people have been having a really good reaction to has been that basically it's controlling your computer now, but like in the background. So it's not interfering with, it's not going to be interfering with what it is that you're seeing. And I tested this, like I had it just as a test, like, on board the OpenClaw, and with the computer use, which you just have to turn on, it was able to do it in like 3 minutes. And I didn't really see anything. Like it's just clicking and doing everything that it did in the background, but much quicker than what it did the other day on day 2, right? So it says Codex just got a lot more powerful computer use, in-app browser, image generation, editing, 90 plus new plugins, okay? So where this is headed is these apps, and you'll see it on the Claude side too. They also have computer use. They're also, Claude is really good actually in Chrome. So I'll show you that. And kind of like how Gemini, we used Gemini yesterday. And one of the things that we're going to discover today on the Claude side is that Claude also has Dispatch, which I'm sure Codex is going to release, within the next few weeks or month at most, probably. And what Dispatch is you're able to like text Claude Code on your phone and ask it to be doing things. So you could build through kind of a mobile app chat thing. All right. So I'm showing both of these things to say that if you're just starting to play with these tools, I would maybe use both for a month, and I would do it in a strategic way where, let's say you want to build a landing page or a project. I wouldn't build 2 whole projects. But what I like to do is I could start with the same prompts in both places, and by like the 3rd prompt or the 5th prompt, you could easily see, if I'm freezing, hopefully my voice isn't. You could easily see how, like, which one's going to win for this particular task. Okay. So that's all I'll say to that. But if I only had to choose one, again, going back to it, I would choose Codex. But let's just start with Claude. Are we good? Put a 1 in the chat. Let's do an overview on it. And share some things that you may want to see within Claude in real time. All right. Share some ideas. Landing page. Okay, we could do that. And we'll do it on both. Okay, so we'll do a landing page, the same information, the same prompt. We'll give it to Codex, and then we'll give it to Claude. Claude really does, if you're into beauty and design, Claude really does reign supreme currently. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. All right, so this is Claude. Claude, all you'll do is you'll go to like Claude.ai or just Google Claude desktop app. And all you have to do is download the desktop app. And the reason is because the desktop app will give it capability to have like access to local files, but also they've recently updated their desktop app to just have a very friendly interface where everything's kind of in one place, because how they have split it is they have Claude, which is just like this chat, right? It's kind of like ChatGPT. They have Claude Cowork, which is like the middle path between like Claude and Claude Code. And then they have Claude Code. I work 99.9% of the time within the Claude Code. And the reason is because the middle path of Claude Cowork, it's just like, you're eventually going to get to Claude Code anyway. And there are limits to what you could build in Claude Cowork. So if I wanted to build an internal tool, if I wanted to build an application, if I wanted to build like something more robust, a website, a landing page, it can't like get to the tokens that it needs to within Claude Cowork. But it's good for some back and forth. It's kind of like what we witnessed yesterday with Gemini Canvas, right? It could build like kind of the interface of a landing page, but you're not going to really want to sit there and complete the landing page and then talk about hosting and all of that within the Cowork environment. So I would almost urge you to skip the chat, skip the Cowork environment, and just jump into the pool with Claude Code. They make it really easy now where you could just use it in the app locally. So here's chat, Cowork, and then code. All right. So you see here, let me hide this. So can you see it? Yeah. So you see here that it's like, what's up or what's next? Okay. There's a chat here at the bottom. And on the top left, you see new session, routine, customize, dispatch, and more. Okay. And what you'll see is when you click customize, it's going to show this screen and it says connect your apps, create new skills, or browse plugins. This is kind of similar to, again, their head-to-head, to the codex, plugins, and the skills that we saw on day one. When you click on Customize Claude, you can click Connect Your Apps. And here are all the apps that you can connect. So they have Google Drive, Google Calendar, Gmail. And as you can see, like very similarly now to Codex, they have a bunch of stuff here that you can connect your Claude Code to. So they have AWS even, they have like a lot. Still going. Now, how each of these work and to the level of capability that they work really depends, right? Like it depends. Some of them work all the time, and like some of them within Claude are just like terrible. Like for example, Fireflies for the conversations. In the beginning, at least, I haven't tried this within Claude in a while, but in the beginning, it was such a pain to get Claude to really like be able to deal with the Fireflies API key, even though it would say that I'm connected over and over again. And I never experienced that problem with Codex. So I'm saying this to say that just because it connects doesn't mean that it's going to be able to do the things that you think it can do without any issues until you actually try and prompt it to do things within that environment. Okay. And just like with building, you want to maybe do this in both interfaces and see which one is less of a pain in the butt for you or easier for you, or just, you know, more your cadence, more your style. Here we have skills. So if I want to download a skill like design skill or doc co-authoring skill or brand guideline skill, then I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm giving my Claude Code environment these little superpowers. And these skills are published by Anthropic, you know, themselves. So it's, you see here 163,000, you know, people, 0.3,000 people have, you know, downloaded this skill. Okay. Create beautiful visual art. Again, your ability to leverage these skills is really based on prompting. And just because you have the skill doesn't mean that it's going to meet your standards, so to speak. So definitely within, I could tell you that within Claude, I have not, like the images just are not to par unless I give it in Claude Code my Gemini API key, or even maybe like an open AI API key for the images. Plugins here, you'll see manage tasks. It's kind of the same thing. Okay, can do some marketing, it can do some project management, operations, legal, sales, whatever. Also, just understand that like these are just baseline plugins, baseline skills, because at the end of the day, if everyone has access to these skills, you know, what edge or advantage or leverage do you have? And that really comes down to the more that you interact with these tools, the more that you can then create skills that are more customized to your workflow, that are more customized to the output that you want for your specific business. And we won't even get into that topic today, but I would, with more use, you can create skills that customize your agent environments more and more. And that's really what's going to give you that edge and advantage. Okay. So, but that's a good starting point. Over here, you'll go back, you see at the top, you'll go back, and then you could click new session. One of the things, and we'll get to the routines and the dispatch, and dispatch is really the ability to be able to like text Claude on your phone. The last time that I tested it, it was pretty, I don't want to say it was useless, but it was not there yet. Okay. So I would do a command, it would show up on the laptop, and then it would kind of get lost in the sauce and not really be able to complete what I needed it to complete. So without me actually being at the laptop and guiding it a little, which would kind of not be the point. So here in new session, right, what we could do is all you have to do is describe the task or ask a question. At the bottom here, you'll see accept edits, and it'll also ask you like, where do you want to actually have these things? Like, where do you want Claude to work from? You could do local, you could choose like a Claude folder where all of the Claude things that it builds for you are going to be found, whatever. But, you just have to decide that first. And then one of the things that I highly advise is if you don't bypass the permissions here, it's going like beyond codex times X. It will ask you for permissions literally every 30 seconds if you don't tell it not to. So, you know, just yes, it's a risk or whatever, but I would definitely recommend bypassing the permissions. Here you could add files, here you could use your voice, and you could see that you could choose which microphone it's going to leverage and stuff like that. I will say that just because of the capability of ChatGPT's voice, voice mode, and they've been working on voice a lot more in general, I think that chat's capability to be able to work off of voice prompts is a lot better, but that's just my personal opinion. Over here, you'll see that there are the models, and I know that they're going to expire this one pretty soon. I saw that notification. This is the newest one that was released as recent as yesterday. And so you'll choose which one that you want to leverage. Now, again, the downside of, Claude in general is that like are the usage limits. Like even again, on the $200 per month plan, I could hit usage limits at least like once or twice a week. That's never happened to me on the Codex side. So you get a lot more for your buck on the Codex side. You could run through, like one of the biggest complaints of people with their subscription on Claude is that you could run through usage limits. It's unpredictable. Some people have even posted on social media and their posts have gone viral because they'll like say hi and then it'll update and say like 7% usage. And, it's like, I just said hi. So just kind of take that into consideration. And then here, depending on the effort that you put, will be like how fast you'll run through those credits related to your subscription. Okay. So are there any questions so far? And if you're following, put a 1 in the chat so I just know to proceed. All right. And we'll have fun. Throw some ideas of what you guys want the landing page to be on, because I'm about to start prompting it. What do you want it to be? So at the top, you see there's chat, co-work, and code. So you just click code. But you have to be on the desktop. Share some ideas for the landing page. Pet retreat. Okay. A pet retreat. That's funny. Author e-commerce. Okay. Hmm. All right, we'll do an author. All right. So I'm going to say create a landing page for structure for an author who is, we'll say, who is launching their first book called, we'll say, AI agent fundamentals for small business owners. The author's name, let's just say my name, is Shanae Murray. Also, the book is going to be released on July 1st, 2026. So I'm just going to give it this. No other instructions. And then what I'll do is I'll do the same for Codex. So one of the things that I like to test first is sometimes as humans, we assume, like, we underestimate how advanced AI has gotten. And so we will give it a bunch of instructions in the beginning. And sometimes you can get in the way of what it's trying to do. So I actually like to start with a more minimal prompt like this, which is like create a landing page for an author. This is the book. This is the author's name. And this is the release date. Like really, that's all that it will need. And then I like to just see the baseline of what it produces. Like if it's completely off, if it looks terrible, if the design is trash with that prompt, then I will, I'll kind of think about, is it worth fixing, or should I just start with a more specific prompt to like, this is kind of what I'm looking for. These are the brand colors. Ideally, you wouldn't have to constantly give it the brand stuff because it would have that in your documents that we covered on day 1 and day 2. But I don't want to go through that every time. So here we go. So as you could see, within Claude Code, it will show it, like it will preview it on the side, all right? And what you could do is you could kind of pull it like this, you see? So you could pull it like this and kind of see what it will look like. What you could also do is take this up here and I could put it in Google Chrome, and then I could see the entire website, which I probably will do. So I'm just going to copy this. And then you'll see, hold on, what it will look like. No, stop sharing, hold on. Wrong one. So you see, so this is just kind of like the first iteration, AI agent fundamentals for small business owners, join the launch list, what's inside. I think it's cool that it got this. That's funny. Not another AI hype book, a work manual, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of boring, written for the operator, not the observer. But it's not bad, right? We're working with something. What I could do now is what's beautiful within Claude, and I'll show you, is, hold on, kind of have to switch screens. Claude is really good in Chrome. But first, let's go to the app. So when you go to the desktop app, like at the bottom, so you'll see like Shanae Marais here, and then you could see settings. So hold on. When you see settings, you'll see Claude and Chrome. You'll see co-work, right? Claude code, connectors, capabilities. And I want you to make sure that your Claude in Chrome is on. So in the beginning, it will like show you a toggle and you just like have to turn it on and it may ask you for like permission. And then you could allow it or block it. And once you turn it on, you're able to call Claude in your browser like Gemini, like we did yesterday, except it's even better, I would say. You could also add like websites that are blocked to this if you want. And then here you could also see, okay, like here's your Claude code, here's capabilities if you want it, if you want your memory turned on, generate memory from chat history, you know, if you want visuals, you could just kind of review some of these things here. But going back to the Chrome tab, because I don't want you to be like, well, where's mine? You have to turn it on. Going back here, what I could actually do is I could call Claude Chrome. And you see here, it says this is a beta feature. I understand. Next, let's go. All right. And what I could do is I could say, please advise how to improve this landing page so that it looks more like my brand, growthacademy.global. So it'll, and you see like at the top, I don't know if you could actually see, but there's let me share the entire screen because I know you can't see it. Hold on. So at the top, you see how it like put these together? So like it color coded them to be together. That means it's kind of like a signal, like Claude is working with these two tabs, okay? And then I'm going to click approve plan and always allow, all right? Now I could have also done this in Claude Code. I'm just showing you, you know, some of the little features. So as you can see, it's taking screenshots. I don't know if you can see that. So it took a screenshot of what the brand looks like. And this will happen even in Claude Code. So if I would have asked it in Claude Code, all it would have done, because it has access to the Chrome tab, is open a tab in Chrome and kind of look and see what it looks like, and then adjust the page that way. And I'll show you, because honest, like you don't want to do these extra steps. I just want to show you capabilities. I'm actually just going to put it in. But it is very thorough in, okay, so here we go. You see what I'm talking about? So this is really what I like about Claude and Chrome, is that it's able to it's able to understand what I'm asking without me having to break it down into like, okay, give me the colors, give me this, give me that, and it gets it right. So here's the color palette, here's the typography, here's the buttons, the layout, specific changes, and it did all of this. And you know, technically then you could give it to whatever you're working with, but I just did the same prompt inside of Claude Code and it will do the same thing. But don't be afraid. Like if you're in your Chrome, you could see up here the little open Claude thing. You just open it and you could get it to do whatever it is that you want it to do. Okay. Does that make sense? And then let me open this. So this is like, want me to rebuild it matching your site, or would you rather grab the specific colors? And we've already done that. This is, so one of the things with Claude that I don't like working like with the prompting is that sometimes it asks, like if I tell Codex, like just figure it out, just do it, it'll do it. Even if I tell that to Claude, it may push back. So it's like, I don't want to fight with you today. Like, you know, and that's because they really need to improve, like how Codex was updated yesterday with learning how you like to work the memory and stuff. These are just the things that they have to improve. Codex also did finish its version. Can you see my screen? The entire screen? Hold on. Let me make sure. Yes. So this is Codex's version. And again, look at the design. Okay, so the design is not terrible, but it's not the best. Now, one of the things that it did do, like that Codex is trying to do from the get-go, is I just kind of proved the difference. It has better memory, right? So with Claude, like Claude knows who I am. It knows my website. It's been in the GitHub with Codex a million times, and it still just reverted to doing a landing page that had nothing to do with my brand, even though I put my name. With Codex, I didn't ask for it to do it in, any similar even brand colors, but it did. And it even added my photo. So yes, you have to give it a little bit more direction on the design. It's not as pretty, but when it comes to understanding, for me, I like it better, right? Because I'd rather tweak this design for like 5 minutes, but it have a more, like a better understanding that, like, if I put my name, I shouldn't have to explain that you should match the brand. Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. So here it is. And, we got to fix this. I also like that on the top here, it's joined the launch list. The buttons are a little bit bigger, matches, of course, like more of my style. Written for owners who need operating leverage. Because OpenAI, ChatGPT, has image generation, and probably leverage that for the image. And it understands more of the ICP, right? It's like practical. I like it. But the design is a little... So why would we use Claude then? You may not, right? Like, I'm just showing Claude because some people prefer Claude over Codex. Some people prefer Codex over Claude. Obviously, they're going head to head. I prefer Codex, but I'm just some people use both. I use both. So here we go. Now this is where Codex, again, reigns a little supreme, because like once it understands, the design is pretty, right? So look at this. So this is where, you could be split. You could be split. Now, what I could tell Codex is like match this or match this a little bit more, but keep your messaging. And so AI agent fundamentals for small business owners, the plain English playbook for deploying AI agents without hiring engineers, burning 6 months, or failing for vendor hype. It's like the copy on the other one's better. I don't like not, but. So it's like not another AI hype book, a working manual. And that to me just screams AI, but the design is better. And it didn't put my picture, even though it has my pictures. And then it says 3 years deploying agents. That's not true. So it's just making stuff up. But the design is really pretty. And if I didn't want to fight with either of them, I would just literally give this to Codex and be like, run with this design, but your messaging, and it would be done in 3 minutes. And because Codex has access to my website, it could go live. So I could actually do this. I'll show you live. Am I still showing the full screen? Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll go to Codex and I'll say, match this design, but your messaging. Then deploy as a page on the website, maybe like growthacademy.global/book or something, and make it go live. Now, why can it do that? It could do that because it has access to my Cloudflare. It has access to GitHub if it wants to put it in GitHub. And it has access to the local place, the file under user/Shanae/desktop/AI agent fundamentals, where it could see what Claude has also created, right? So that's, and in my experience, making pages go live, and because of that memory kind of, it's just easier with Codex than Claude. Claude for me easily goes into GitHub, makes the change, it doesn't have, for some reason, sometimes it can get stuck on the Cloudflare side in terms of pushing it to go live. So it says here, I found the reference, okay, and it'll go through. And we'll see how long it takes. So it's good that you're actually seeing like the differences in real time. And one of the things that is different too, is that you see this like so here it needs some. So when it's going through stuff like that, it's fine. Just give it the allow access. But one of the things that I like is as it's building, Codex will actually update you. So and you don't have to watch it the whole time, but it'll actually like keep that updated. And you could see how it breaks it down into tasks. On this side, it's just, it'll give you the synopsis after the fact, right? So it'll say, okay, I'm doing it, and then it'll disappear. It'll be like finagling or jibber jabbing or whatever. And then it'll give the synopsis at the end of like, hey, this is what I did, but it doesn't do it in real time. So sometimes if it's a bigger thing, you could just be like waiting there, like, are you stuck, or, where are you in the process? And, that it could be kind of frustrating. So it figured that out. And then now it's going to attempt to match what Claude did. And it's going to build the page with the reference design that I gave it. And then it'll deploy it. And it'll not even have to deploy it as like a different domain. It'll just deploy it as a page on the site. You can't see what? This? You can see my whole screen, right? Put a one in the chat. So what's crazy is that the reference file is very close to what we need, which is good news. I'm tuning the copy to match, the positioning and checking whether the site already has a real email capture. So the launch list can do something better than a fake success state. And that's something else to kind of note between them is um Claude is really good at doing what you say. Like, once I said match the branding, it was like done. But it did, like, sometimes it won't go above and beyond that. So for example, I didn't ask Codex to like make sure the form worked and stuff like that, but it's doing it anyway because in its assumption, like if it's going to go live, then in this live website the form should work. If I told Claude the same thing, it 99% wouldn't mention the form because it's like, you didn't tell me to do that. That's your problem, lady. So if you're, so I think like Codex is good because it will catch those things for somebody that may not even think of them. Now, one thing to note, and I'll share that shortly. But one thing to know is like if you want to build internal tools that could live on your desktop that you operate, within your business. And I can't share too much of that because obviously that's like, internal tools that we use. But Claude is a good place to build those things that you could use daily within your business within Claude Code. And it could easily build them just leveraging your subscription. So on the Codex side, it could build it, but it has a tendency to like not want to leverage, not, it doesn't want it to live within Codex, if that makes sense. It wants to put it somewhere else. And because it's putting it somewhere else, it will want like API keys and things like that, at least for now. That will probably change. Again, these things are changing daily, head to head. But I have easily found that within the Claude Code environment, it is easy to build, operational tools that you use within the business and like agentic workflows, leveraging the subscription, which is tremendous leverage. Because if you would have to pay for those things via an API key, it's going to at least 10x the cost. And as you can see, Codex is very thorough. Like, oh, I'm putting in a real author section. I didn't ask for any of this really. So, here, let me see if I could get one. Hold on. I'll give you a few. So we have one that whenever I go live on LinkedIn, like today, uh, Claude will know that. And the reason why Claude will know that is because I gave it the YouTube API key. And you don't have to know these things. Like you could just say, I want to build a tool for my business that does this, this, and this. And it'll say, okay, this is what I need. So when I go live, it is able to identify that I've gone live. It is able to get the transcript of that live. And then it is able to produce different blog posts from that live. And then we approve those blog posts. And then that blog post that we approve will go to the website. So I'm talking about something like that. Something that you're going to be using operationally, internally in your business, like over and over and over and over and over again, that you may not have to share with anyone else other than a team member. And it could be local, it could be stored locally on your computer, and it could live off of the subscription that you have from Claude. If you were to do this with another tool, it's harder. Like Claude likes to keep things in Claude. It's very easy to keep things in Claude. Codex, me asking the same thing, it would want to put it somewhere. So it would say, okay, let's build this thing in GitHub, and then let's host it on this, and let's connect the API key. And I would really, really, really have to push it for it to just be living inside of the Codex app, if that makes sense. So Claude has better security for a company. Like there's pros and cons to this, right? Because the more that Claude evolves, the more Claude, it's like obvious they want you to stay in their environment. I think that itself poses, like, it could be more secure, but that itself also poses a security risk for any company, especially a company that has, 25 plus employees or more, because they could control everything because you're on their infrastructure. So I know a lot of people that, will post on X or something, and they'll be like, yeah, Claude banned me today. And if they're doing like $100,000 or $1 million a month, like what is that company going to do now if all their stuff lived within Claude code, right? Because it was just easier for that to happen, and they make it easy. So I think, yes, it can be secure, but yes, it's also more of a risk because they could just pull the plug. And I think Codex is great at building, and I think that they'll allow this pretty easily, head-to-head stuff. But I think that they're more open also to working with other things, if that makes sense. So imagine we use ClickUp as a productivity tool, go high level as a CRM. Any ideas on leveraging these tools in Gmail with any of these AI? So I would kind of remove tools out of it. And I would say, like, what do you wish could happen for the business, right? So I'll give you an example. I helped a company, they have about 25 people, and he was just like, listen, one of the things that's costing us a lot of time is it takes so long for like the transcripts, for us to go from like transcript or conversation to initial proposal. And the deals that they're closing are like multiple 6-figure deals, right? Like mid 6-figure deals. And then from the proposal to like a pitch deck or a slide deck that's like professionally branded, and then that has to go to this person. It was like 5 to 8 people involved and would take like weeks. So I would advise, like, you find like one problem like that, and then you start breaking it up. and you say, well, okay, well, why does it take somebody 2 hours to do the initial proposal, like from conversation to proposal? And maybe that's because they're prompting the agent a million times differently, using different prompts, using different formats. There's no real pricing logic or blah, blah, blah. And then that's the first thing that you could build, is something where you could input information and then it could create the thing for you based off of principles of your business, services, whatever. And now you've gone from like a 2 hour thing to a 2 minute thing over and over again. Now, to get to that 2 minute thing, you may have to sit there with Codex or Claude for 2 hours, right? Going back and forth, but it compounds. Then, you know, like, what's the next thing? What's going on? Look. Wait, oh, you guys aren't seeing it. Wait, hold on. Look, it's this is crazy. Watch. Wait, it was oh, it's just like doing stuff. I guess it realized I wasn't touching the mouse, so it just started to like move the mouse and click stuff. Hold on. That's kind of funny. So yeah, that's what I would do. And I would start with like, okay, if you like if you have an established business, like one of the lowest hanging fruit is kind of what I said, like come up with a system where, let's say the clients that you didn't close within the last year, you can close at least 10% of them. And I would just give it like, hey, how can we do this? And then moving forward, how can this become like a workflow or like an internal tool or just something that runs automated? The thing that you have to ask there is, how will it recognize it? Right. So this is like where really, this is how agents work. They work in environments and it's just like a human. The thing that wakes you up in the morning is the alarm, right? Or the sun, like you're triggered to wake up, or a dog licking you in the face, or a child staring at you like, good morning, mommy. Right? So, I mean, that's the truth. Like, just think of it like that's the trigger, you're up. So what will the trigger be for that agent to kind of turn on? And maybe the trigger is that you sent a proposal, 7 days ago or 21 days ago, and it could see from the emails, from the correspondence, from the payments received that they have not closed, right? And so then it is turned on, and then it could go do the things, send the follow-ups that it needs to increase the chances of that deal closing, right? So I want you to think of it like that. And if that's going to be like the lowest hanging fruit, then so be it. I think the second lowest hanging fruit, write it down because I'm just giving you ideas, is, and you would want this to, again, you would start this first, but then you would want this to be continuous trigger. And how often you do it, what's going to trigger it is up to you operationally. But what you could do is you could give Codex or Claude, they both can connect to what most of your meeting note takers, okay? I don't know which ones you use, but most of them can connect. And if you don't know how, just be like, I am not technical. How do I connect you to this note taker that I have? And what you could do is you could say, I want you to download all the transcripts, read all of the transcripts, audit all of the transcripts of the last 3 to 6 months, and identify upsell opportunities, right? So it's gonna go through like all of the transcripts. You want it to roast you. You want it to tell you like how bad you are at presenting opportunities to current clients that you have on how you could help them, because I bet you that you're missing opportunities, right? And I'm telling you, like, if you do this, it'll come back with like you're leaving this on the table, and then it could come back even with a plan of how to introduce those upsells, right, to each individual client. And then after doing that once, what you could do is, okay, well, how could I just make this something that happens on a bi-weekly basis or a weekly basis, where it could be every Friday evening, this agent is turned on, right? And the job of this specific agent, or the task that is turned on for my agent at this specific time, is you're going to review my conversations and you're going to tell me all of the opportunities that I missed in terms of upsells or offers, or how I could have done this sales call better, whatever, and what I'm leaving on the table and how to maybe recoup that, right? So that's a great question, Melinda. Do we have to feed it the transcripts or make it get them? I want you to constantly, like, I need you to, you're the whore, you're the woman or the person. You're like the cowboy that they call in to break a horse, right? Like a wild stallion. What does that cowboy do? Like, that cowboy doesn't give up, right? It's like, we're going to go through the ringer here. You're going to try to kick me off like 25 times, but eventually we're going to like come to terms and you're going to comply. And that's how you have to really, when you're starting to work with these things, especially now that they learn, like especially on the Codex side, if you have OpenClaw, especially if you have OpenClaw, where you can really customize things, like they learn how to work with you. They can't learn your preference unless you push and you don't like give in. So when they say, oh, the easiest step, because sometimes they revert to being a little lazy. So they'll be like, the easiest step is for you to go in and do it. You need to at least push back like 3 to 5 times and say, no, you do it. I don't know how to do it. I'm not technical. I only have my login. Bring it up on the browser. Okay. So, that's kind of like, if you ask yourself, do I have to do it? Like, try to not to. Just say, I need you to do this. I'm not technical. I don't want to, like, even if you need to get a key, like an API key, what it should do is it should just pop the browser up, you log in, and now with computer use, it could take over your computer and it could click what it needs to click. You don't even have to know where it is. Does this make sense? Put a 1 in the chat. So where are these things the most useful for business owners? It really depends on your goal, especially within the next 90 days. And it really depends on what it is that you want and how it is that you get business. So if someone comes to me and they're like, oh yeah, like I get business through outbound. We send 100 emails a day, and we have like a 10% response rate, or I don't know what outbound responses rates are, like 3%. Then like the first thing I would do is like feed the AIs, like, hey, I want to create an agent that can take my outbound rate from 3% to whatever, double it within the next 30 days, do A/B testing, and I would just do that a lot more and have it actually self-improve, because you may not be looking at the data as often as you should. Maybe you're not targeting the right emails, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's like so this is like what Kula is saying is one of the things, like I think what's helpful here that we could do is, hold on, let's see it. Okay. All right. The lives, I built the landing page, okay. I verified the page locally. The part as of April still serves as sites even after the push itself is up. So the blocker is the deployment layer, not picking up this repo update. The next concrete step is to trigger to reconnect the Cloudflare. That's what it was doing when I interrupted it. I'm just going to say proceed and finish, please. I don't know how to do it. And I think I interrupted your flow when you open Cloudflare. But I think so I went to Claude. Let me see. What are the most Okay, so I'm gonna. So here, what are the most common mistakes humans make when building and approaching agents? Based on what I've seen, here are the most common: building agents when a workflow suffices, too many tools, no clear termination condition, overloading one agent, context, evaluation, production, no human in the loop, ignoring cost, da da da. And then one of the biggest things is that you see, like, we wanted to be a CFO, like we wanted to just do everything I do, but that's not really how they operate. So like you need to split it into tasks. Like instead of creating like one mega outbound agent that's going to do outbound on LinkedIn, Instagram, uh, cold emails, warm emails, whatever, you should think of it in individual ones. Like you should have one for cold, maybe for your current list. You should have one for cold for a new, like how's it going to get new cold list? You should have one for maybe not one for reviving, but one for LinkedIn if you would like that. It shouldn't just be like one mega outbound super agent because you don't know what's going to work. So that's like the biggest thing is like we just want it to do everything without really breaking down what works for the business and like individual tasks. And that's why I said you have to take something big and like start to chop it up into pieces. And then you get one piece, two piece, three piece. It will start. It's taking control of my screen. That's hilarious. It's that's crazy that you can't see it. I wonder if it here, hold on. Let me see if I could do this. Hold on. Let me I'm going to cancel what it's doing, but stop screen. I'm going to share my entire screen here. And then I'll say hold on. Let's see what codex is saying. So if you see at the top, there's like a little pointer that starts to. So that's funny. So it's picking the file. It's crazy. And you may say, oh my gosh, it's going so slow. It's actually really good. Like, it's the best computer use that I've seen. That's crazy. And this is because I said, remember, like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Just, it said I couldn't make it go live because you interrupted it. And I was like, sorry. So then it did it. I'm afraid to touch. What other questions are there? Yeah, exactly, Kim. It's making the website go live, Melinda. All right, let's go. Like, while it's finishing that, what we'll do is we'll do dispatch for Claude, because that is kind of one of the. I think like once they master it, I think it'll be like one of the coolest things that Claude has. So here on the side, you see code and you see dispatch. So all you have to do is you'll download the Claude app on your phone. And then when you download the Claude app on your phone, it's very similar to this. So you'll see like the little 3 lines on the top left once you log in. And then you'll see chats, projects, artifacts, code, dispatch. When you click dispatch, it'll say looking for your desktop, ... And then it says pair your phone. And you could say I'm signed in on my phone. And once I clicked pair my phone on my phone, it says your phone and desktop are now paired. Let's go. And I just have to click let's go. And what I'll do is, here, let me show you. Like, how can I show you this? 1 second. Hold on. I'll show you the picture, what it looks like. So you see, so it says dispatch. Hey, glad you're here. Tell me what's on your plate. No ask is too big. Da da da. So I could chat with Claude Code and like tell it what I needed to do, even from my phone. So here. I just texted it something. We'll see. So here, let me show you what it. So you won't see anything until you text it. So as you can see, it's like, hey, can you deploy? Let me enable computer use. Hold on. Make sure you turn on computer use. But hi, can you deploy the landing page for the book for me? Quick check. Da, da, da. And again, the thing is like, where do you want it deployed? I want it deployed on Cloudflare. And it should know that because out of all of them, Cloudflare is connected. So that's the only like kind of annoying. And as you can see here, where's the landing page source? You just built it. So these are the things that this could be kind of frustrating on the Claude side. Is like they have to improve it. And sometimes that's just the disparity now with the dispatch. It's on my computer. Find it. You built it locally. And I'm doing it from my phone, so you guys can. So on it, spun up a task to find the project and push it to Cloudflare pages. It'll ping you if it needs folder access or hits an auth step. I'll share the live. And it's like, again, I'm not supposed to be here. You see, so so the permissions thing does show up on the phone too, but it's like you still have to work through permissions a million times. Over here, like I've literally bypassed permissions. It's annoying. I just said okay. But it's cool that you could text it. Like this is where all of these things are going, by the way. Like if you think that Claude is going to have this and Codex is not, Codex will have it very soon. I know Claude could even like do it through iMessage, I believe, but it's just it's still in the early phase of these things, and you just have to work through the clunkiness. So it says, get a push notification on your phone when Claude messages you. Sure. Again, the one thing I don't like, as you can see, I just put okay. And sure, I'll get a notification on my phone, but there's really no indicator that, like, what's going on. Is it doing something? Is it not? Um, and if it is doing something, is it having a problem doing it, or is everything going the way that it should be going? Uh, and so that's the only thing. So I just put update. And like, you want to really start to build things that are specialized for your business, but you never know where that may lead. Um, so here, found it on your desktop. Task is mid deploy via your connected. I'll send the live URL as soon as it's set up. Okay. Um, so one of the things is, as you're building these custom things for the use cases of your business, you never know where it will lead. So for example, I saw that there's an agent that someone built, and first they built it for themselves, and I think they're like selling it now, where um the agent will like take a picture of someone's house, and it has like, medium to okay or like ugly landscaping, and then it will generate a photo of the house, like what they suggest the landscaping look like, and then send that picture to the owner, and basically like, hey, do you do you want us to do our landscaping? And that business is like a local business. How many clients can they actually take on? But what they found is like, it was so useful that they could actually sell that agent that mastered that specific thing, um, to other landscape companies. So the real like sauce is in your internal IP, like your internal operations, because I bet you, if you create an agent or workflow that just really helps solve a problem that you have, I bet you there's 1,000 other businesses that has that same problem. um, and you never know, like, that could be the specialized thing. Like, yours could become the best just because you made it so niche and you made it be focused on solving like one specific thing. um, so that's why, like, you don't know where these things will lead, but you do know that, you're not going to have the leverage if you don't start building them. I saw another one with a pool company that did the same thing, right? And I'm sure there'll be like a million, a deck company, window company. I'm sure there's going to be a million of those agents now, but you know, if you build the best pool one, I bet you there's a lot of small businesses that are pool installers or whatever, that even pool cleaners, that would love that. Like, they don't want to build that. And so that's the thing, is like, if anyone can build it, it's gonna come down to like, who builds the best one. And then it's gonna come down to small business owners being like, do I really want to build this, or just use the best one, for this specific use case? And does that make sense? I'm gonna be like, any update? The task can push to pages without a Cloudflare creative scope token. So you see, it's like it's running into this. So let me just actually, let's pretend I'm not by the computer. You use my terminal. Do it for me. So this is the thing with some of this stuff. It's like I'm not supposed to be by my computer. And it's like, can you run this in your terminal? I'm gonna say, or come up with, hold on, with a more creative solution. I'm not by my computer. Do it now. I need a link. I can't even type right. So now it says, I sent the task looking for no off deploy path. I'll come back with the live URL or a precise ask you can do from your phone in under a minute. We'll see. We'll see. So sometimes you have to be like, I can't, like, you need to be more creative. Find a different way. What's interesting is like over here, you see it's squiggling, but on the phone, it doesn't show any indicator that it's doing anything. Like it, all it said is the same message, but it doesn't have the squiggle. So Codex already has it live here. I'll show you. But it's been a minute. I'm going to say, come on, Claude, you could do it. And it's leaving me on red. It's just squiggling, like it read my message and it's ignoring me. That's funny. 'Cause, funny. 'Cause, 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 Allow Claude to use the browser on. So while it's doing this, I'll show you what and then what is this? It's asking it again. Here, I'll just show you. We'll end with what Codex did here. So this is you can still see it, the live page. And you could see how the copy changed a little bit, right? So practical guide, so it used Claude's design, but it changed the copy and it made the copy better. So practical guide for owners who want to use AI agents to save time, simplify operations, and create real leverage without hiring a dev team or drowning in technical jargon. And you could see from, like, I had to do the Growth Academy, like a development link so that it didn't actually go to the main website. I put it in the chat. You can see that it's a live link and clear, practical, and built for real business. What an agent really is, where to start, how to use AI. The first use case is what to measure now, how to grow thoughtfully, written for the owner operator, not the theorist. It did great with my picture. Okay. It did the right stats. It says this is her first book. It brings together the same grounded teaching she is known for, practical, clear, and built for owners who want smarter systems without losing the human side of the business. And then it says the release date, be the first to hear when it goes live. That's pretty crazy, right? And we'll have to work on the form. This opens an email draft to hello@growthacademy. Your email app is opening. Okay. So I would have to give it like a form. What form I would want to use, it depends. Or I could tell it to just use some app and maybe Google form, whatever, to collect the emails. But I mean, it's great, and it's a live page. It did a great job. So let's see. Oh, and Claude is still asking for permissions. So obviously, like, that's the problem with the dispatch side, is that, take it with a grain of salt. I think that they released it as like, hey, we could actually do this. This is where we're headed, but it's just not there. So yeah. So I hope that this was helpful in terms of just like seeing a little bit of what the difference is, a little bit of the strengths. I mean, I could sit here for hours and show you, but it's a simple use case, and I think you just need to start testing them. Yeah. So I like, whenever you guys approach this, just know that it can, just know that it can. So can it connect with high level? Yes. Just it will be able to do it some way or another. You could even ask it. Now, the real question is, like, as you start to use these tools more and more, the ultimate question is, should you connect it to high level? Is high level the place where you want to stay, right? Because I could tell you now that as the more that I start to use these things, I'm already making moves in terms of the tech stack that I'm going to have, because I am not going to be fighting with a software that makes it harder for my agent to work with, right? So let's just take Kajabi, for example. Kajabi is great. It's all in one platform. It is really not that agent friendly. And I don't really see them becoming that agent friendly. So if I use Kajabi, then that prompts the question, like, is it time to go to an agent friendly, place instead of Kajabi? And that's really like, can it connect? Yes. but as you use this stuff daily and like really start to put stuff together, the real question becomes like, is this the best thing to use if every single time you set something up or have a new workflow or agent, it's a pain for this agent to work with this thing. um, And another question is like, do you actually need it, or can it just build something more customized to you and your business and how you work? Because like a lot of these like things like go high level and like they have so many features, they have so many this, that if you're somebody that just needs like 3 things, you may just want to build that thing in like Claude and use it instead, or wherever. So no. What do you mean combining the major AI? I would honestly though, like I would get into the frame of mind that as you start to build these things, like that is your new IP, right? So if you build a workflow that can double your response rate outbound or triple it or whatever, or that can reply to clients within 30 seconds in a really personalized way that they're that much more likely to get on the phone, and then you close more deals, like that in and of itself is like intellectual property that you can own and leverage. And um, because of that ownership and leverage, I would just make sure that you have these things, like you don't just put them in one place. Even if you host them in some places, you want to be able to access them locally at any time. Yeah. What do you mean by accessing? And then like, so my only um like I don't know what you mean by accessing, but my only thing with a lot of like layer tools, like when OpenClaw came out, there were a lot of tools that were like, oh, in 3 lines you could do your OpenClaw, and it's like a lot of those tools, like you don't know the data that they were capturing, and like there's just like security stuff. So I would do your research diligently with like something like Codex or Claude, and maybe ask the pros and cons. You know, so um, but I hope that this was helpful, at least for the initial understanding and differences between the two. And I will see you next time. Ciao.